We're going to talk about strings today. Besides just manipulating numbers, computers can also manipulate strings. So a string is defined as anything that you can type from a keyboard, including letters, symbols, and even numbers used to identify something. For example, the numbers in a street address, zip code, or even a social security number would be strings most likely, not numbers, because you will never do math on them. Most programming languages consider strings as anything that appears inside quotation marks. These should be matching double quotes and some language matching single quotes, but the beginning and ending quotes must match. Here are some examples of variables being assigned strings. The first one says let name, and then it has the equal sign, and in quotation marks, Julie Anderson. Now this is saying assign the string Julie Anderson to the variable name. So instead of saying equal sign, I'm going to say assign. Okay, the next one says var saying is assigned inside quotation marks home sweet home. So these variables are now storing these characters or strings. Okay, the next one is let phone, and it's being assigned the telephone number in characters 20855511212. Var password or PW is being assigned, I won't say that one, but a string of text that's the password. Var store, now notice this one says inside double quotes Babe's Bakery, and it's okay because well, sometimes if you've got another double quote, if you had a double quote inside of that string, it would think you were ending your string at that point and then ignore the rest of it, or it'd be an error. So if you have quotes within your string, you can escape them, meaning telling the computer to read it as a character, that quote mark as a character, not a beginning or ending quote mark. Some languages do this with a backslash. So we see on the next one, var store is being assigned Babe's Bakery, but this time they have single quotes surrounding that. So they do have to escape that middle single quote. Otherwise, your computer might think it just says Babe, and then the rest of it's an error. So do be aware if you're using the same quotation mark that you use to surround your string, you might have to escape that. To initialize or declare a variable with an empty string, meaning you will eventually use the variable to store a string, but for now there is no string assigned to it yet, or you might want to empty it out. The example here is showing store being assigned an empty string, so two quote marks with nothing in it. Also, in Swift, for example, there is a data type of character or one letter, but you have to declare it that way or else a data type of string will be inferred. Okay, concatenation means combining strings together. Most programs use the plus operator to add strings together to create a new string value. But, for example, PHP uses the dot or period as the concatenation operator. The first example shows two strings being concatenated. Let string 1 is being assigned the string hello, and let string 2 is being assigned the string world, and both of those hello and world are in quotes. Then it says print, and then it has string 1 plus sign empty, and one empty space in quotes is what that middle part is, plus sign again, and then string 2. That results in printing out hello space world. If they didn't concatenate that little empty space in there, the two words would have been right up next to each other. So they could have had string 1 plus string 2, and it would have just said hello world with no space. But this example is PHP, the second one, which uses the period to concatenate. So we have our opening PHP symbol, and then we have A, variable A is being assigned hello with a space included after the O. Then we have variable B being assigned world, and then it's echoing out, outputting out A, variable A concatenated with the period, variable B. And again, it would print out the same thing as the example above, hello space world. This time the space was within the first string, so they didn't have to concatenate an empty quotes with a, or not empty quotes, but quotes with just one space in them. So just be aware how different it is with different languages there. Also, be careful about using numbers when you need numbers and using strings when you need strings. Sometimes data will come in from input or from the user as one type, and you will need to convert it to another type before you can use it properly in code. For example, in JavaScript, anything coming in from an input box is considered a string. So when the user enters a number in an input box and you need to use that as a value in a variable, you will, like a number, you will have to convert that input to a number before you can do math on it, because it is seen as a string. Also, if you had a phone number and you would go to print it out, for example, the first printout here, and it just says print and then has inside parens the area code 208. Then outside of that, it's got 555 and then the dash 1212, and that's printing out. The computer might read this as 208 times 555, and then whatever the result of that is, they would minus 1212 from it. So it is inferring that they are numbers the way it is here, and you want to do math, and that the computer is assuming you want to do math on them, where really all you wanted to do was print out the phone number. So you have to make sure that you have quotation marks around them, like the last example, if you want to print that out as text. Each programming language also has many properties that you can use with strings. To convert a string to a number in JavaScript, for example, you'd use the number method. So here we're assigning a string 3, 4, 5, those 3 characters, to the variable num. And so it's being seen as a string. If you went to put that in with a regular number, for example, second line 10, so we're assigning to my var 10 plus num, which had that string in it. It's going to result in 1, 0 for your 10, and then 3, 4, 5. So it's going to end up looking like 10,345, which is not 10 plus 345. You would assume that might be 355, but it's concatenating string with a number. And some other languages may probably give you an error for this. They wouldn't even let you do that. But in JavaScript, sometimes it'll assume things. So just be careful that in this case, the plus is acting as a concatenation because it's got a string in there, not a plus sign for math. Okay, next one is how you would do it properly if you needed to change the 3, 4, 5 string into an actual value number to do math on it. So they have var, my var, and it's being assigned 10 plus, and then they're using the number method to change the 3, 4, 5 string into an actual value number, and then you can do the math on it and get the result of 355. To see how many characters there are in a string, you might use a dot count property. In Swift, it looks like this. This example is showing Julie Anderson being assigned to name, and then it's using the dot count with that name, and it's printing that out, and that would actually print out 14 including counting spaces between words. Another language might use a similar property called .length to get how many characters are in that string as output. So in Swift, hold on. Another point I want to make before we move on. Another example you might need to convert is what the user enters maybe to all uppercase or all lowercase before you can compare it to data you have in a database, and that's what I want to show here. So in Swift, you could use the .lowercase method. This one is saying assigning home sweet home to the variable saying, and then to print those out in lowercase and uppercase, to change that string into all lower or all upper, you would be using the .lowercase with that variable or the .uppercase, and it does have empty parens at the end of each of those to show that it's a method. And that would result in all upper and all lower and then all uppercase in that example. In JavaScript, it would be var sayings being assigned home sweet home, and then it's using again the console log to output it, and it says saying dot to lowercase is the name of the method, empty parens, and then to uppercase would change it to uppercase. In PHP, you have the opening PHP symbol. We have a variable name being assigned home sweet home again, and here we're echoing it out, and it says string to lower, and then it includes the variable name within the parens. And then string to upper would work the same way, to have it be uppercase with the string inside the parens. C++ shows char character saying is being assigned home sweet home, and then printing out to lower with the name of the variable inside the parens, and to upper with the variable inside the parens. Here are some other properties or methods you can use with strings that are available in most languages. Like we saw with the .counter .length, we have getting the number or characters that are contained within the string. Search and remove or replace certain portions of the string. Trimming out white space from the end or beginning of a string. Finding the index number of a specific character within the string, and finding a portion of a string or a substring. These will vary greatly depending on the language you're using, but it's a good idea to be aware of these things and how strings are treated in general by most languages.